Chapter 4. Willpower, habits, and environment. Willpower is the key to success. Successful people strive no matter what they feel by applying their will to overcome apathy, doubt, or fear. Dan Millman. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going. Beverly Sills. I think of self discipline as something like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it gets. Daniel Goldstein. What is the difference between self discipline, self control, willpower, and habits? Do we still need self discipline if we are able to build habits more effortlessly by hacking our environment? Some authors say that self discipline and willpower are not dependable, but they are finite resources. Is that true? Thank you, Bigo. The purpose of this chapter is to clarify these points. Key definitions. Let's bring some clarity to this conceptual maze of self discipline. Self regulation is the broad term that encompasses many internal skills, including willpower, self discipline, self awareness, and motivation. It is the conscious effort regulation of the self by the self. Willpower is your ability to control your attention, emotions, and actions despite the presence of competing stimuli and resolve conflicts between your short term desires and your long term goals. It includes your capacity to delay gratification, override unwanted thoughts and feelings, and shift your internal state. For example, staying focused on the task at hand despite distractions, or saying no to soda despite the tempting can sitting in front of you. Self control is often cited as being synopsis with willpower. The authors who differentiate the two argue that self control is more limited to impulse control, being your power to prevent yourself from doing things, the I won't power, while willpower also includes your ability to make yourself do things, the I will power. Self-discipline is the continuous application of self-awareness and willpower over time for the purpose of living in accordance with your higher values and choosing behaviors that are in harmony with your long-term goals. Habit is when the exercise of self-discipline has crystallized over time and now has become mostly automated and effortless. But habits can also be formed unconsciously in our lives. Motivation is an emotional state of being energized to do something. It is the desire to engage in a certain activity. A short example will help you illustrate the differences. Sarah goes for coffee with an old friend she hasn't seen since college. When they meet, Sarah is impressed seeing how her friend is in perfect shape and beaming with energy. Her friend then talks about her healthy eating and exercise routine. This sparks Sarah's motivation to take healthy eating and physical exercise more seriously. She makes a decision there and then to stop eating ice cream, one of her top junk food items, and to run every weekday after work. Monday comes, the workday is over, and Sarah doesn't really feel like running. She is tired after a particularly stressful day at work. She just wants to lie on her couch and relax. There is zero motivation to run. Then she remembers her commitment to run every Monday, self awareness, and pushes herself to do it, willpower. After the run, she opens her freezer and sees her favorite pot of ice cream, the one she and her partner always eat together while watching TV at night. There is a strong impulse to go for it, but she decides to instead close her eyes, shut the freezer door, and grab an apple for a healthy snack. self control. After some time, the urge passes and she feels pretty happy with herself. This process repeats itself in one way or another every week. Every time she practices the skill of willpower and self control to keep herself on track with her commitment for the achievement of her goals, she is practicing self discipline. After a couple months, all of this becomes automatic. Running every weekday is non-negotiable for her. There's no question about it anymore, no internal conflict to be fought. She just does it, regardless of how she feels. The pot of ice cream looks less tempting because she knows she won't go for it. At this point, Sarah has formed a habit. Willpower is basically the power of your decisions. It's how much that you say to yourself counts. Each time an obstacle or temptation comes your way and you say no to it and reaffirm your initial decision, this strengthens your willpower. So, in a way, willpower overlaps with determination, resilience, and mental toughness. Much of what is said in this book about self discipline is also true about willpower, and vice versa. If we see willpower, self control, as the thread, then self discipline is the process of weaving it all together to make a piece of clothing. Motivation is what gets you started knitting in the first place. It's important to note that habit building is one of the main functions of self discipline, but not the whole of it. Self discipline is the guiding force that allows you to take action in accordance with your goals. Some of these actions can turn into habits, but not all of them. For example, let's say that one of your goals is to fix your broken relationship with your son. To do that, you will need to behave in certain ways with him to build rapport and connection. It's not about building a habit of doing something, such as journaling every night, but about responding to the needs of the moment in a way that advances your cause. The dynamic and unpredictable nature of human relationships is such that building habits cannot be the only solution. You need the self discipline to act in accordance with certain principles. Self discipline includes building habits, but it is more than that. For building habits, setting up triggers and modifying your environment are good hacks. See chapter 26. For other manifestations of self discipline, there are no shortcuts. You need to be aware and exercise willpower as per the needs of the moment. The rest of this chapter is focused on willpower, which is one of the two core elements of self discipline. The other one, as we'll see, is awareness. Is willpower a limited resource? Is self discipline willpower a finite resource, one that we only have a limited amount of, or should avoid using too much so that we have enough of it in the tank for when we need it? Looking at the research on the surface, it seems that willpower is a limited resource, one that we should save up. This is known as the ego depletion model, which compares willpower with a battery that depletes over time or a muscle that is fatigued with overuse. Once you dig deeper, however, you see that although this theory sheds important light on the topic, it's only half of the story. The other half of the psychological aspect of willpower, your beliefs and mindset. Before we dive into theory, let's have a look at the well-known phenomenon called decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is real. While we can debate whether willpower is finite or not, there's one thing we cannot deny, that decision fatigue is real. What is it actually? Every decision we make takes effort, and it is thus a form of stress. Making decisions takes some mental energy, and it is proven that after a long period of decision making, the quality of our decisions deteriorates. We become tired of thinking things through properly, exercising self control, and become thorough in our thinking. This leads people to make impulsive decisions, over rely on cognitive biases, assumptions, and other mental shortcuts, and have less energy for exercising self control. A famous study found that the decisions judges makes are strongly influenced by how long it has been since their last break. The percentage of favorable rulings dropped gradually from about 65% to nearly zero the more time has passed since their last break, and returned abruptly to 65% after a break. Speaking to the concept of decision fatigue, Barack Obama once said it in an interview. You'll see I wear only gray or blue suits. I'm trying to pare down decisions. I don't want to make decisions about what I'm eating or wearing because I have too many other decisions to make. Self control is a big energy consumer in the brain, and that is a problem because of the brain's primary purpose is survival, not self actualization. For survival, saving energy is important. That means that the brain has a natural resilience against exercising self control or willpower. It prefers to take the easier push, often the one of instant gratification, and saves energy. Understanding the phenomenon of decision fatigue teaches us one essential lesson: the value of simplicity in energy management. Do you want to experience less decision fatigue? Reduce the number of trivial decisions in your day to day life. Here are some ideas. Have a routine whereby you sleep, wake up, and eat at the same time every day. Predetermine the clothes you will wear. Donate half of the clothing items in your wardrobe so you have fewer options to choose from. Don't spend time on choices that don't matter much, such as should I eat at the Mexican restaurant or the Thai place today? Choose randomly if needed, or toss a coin, or make the decision once and then don't think about it anymore. Practice simplicity and minimalism in different areas of your life. Go on fewer social events. Cultivate fewer but deeper friendships. Process less information. Subscribe to fewer newsletters. Watch less news, etc. If possible, leave important decisions or self control challenges for after a replenishing activity such as meditation, napping, or listening to music, or make them earlier in the morning after a full night of sleep. The more you can keep stress at bay, the more willpower you will have at your disposal. This is one of the reasons why meditation, as a powerful stress relief exercise, is important for mindful self discipline. Decision fatigue is real and it gives important lessons for us to better manage our energy. But does it prove that willpower is limited? Nobel Prize winner and psychologist Archibald Hill argues that exercise fatigue may not be caused by muscle failure, but by an overproduction protective monitor in the brain that wants us to avoid exhaustion. He concluded that fatigue should no longer be considered a physical event, but rather a sensation or emotion. If that is the case, then what you believe about your capacity and about willpower is as important as how many decisions you've made today. At the very least, this means that our willpower is not as limited as we may feel. The true limit for your willpower is much beyond the first signals of low glucose that your brain sends. The Navy SEALs have what is called the 40% rule, which states that once you get to your first feeling of fatigue or tiredness, you have only used 40% of your actual power. This is as true about mental tiredness and willpower as it is about physical tiredness and muscle use. We will get back to this topic in a moment. But before that, let's talk about the theory in explaining the mechanism of decision fatigue concludes that willpower is limited. Many authors have used this theory to argue that you should not rely on willpower nor attempt to train it. The ego depletion model. Glucose is fuel for the brain, and it's used in all mental operations, including exercise and willpower. So it's possible, although unproven, that the reason why people fail to exercise willpower in certain challenging situations is due to a lack of glucose in the blood. This idea can explain the phenomenon of decision fatigue. Indeed, for many years, the academic discussions on self control and willpower were dominated by the ego depletion model proposed by Royal Baumeister, which is based on this observation. The ego depletion model purpose the ego depletion model proposes that willpower is like a battery with limited capacity. The more you make use of it, the more you deplete it until it gets to a point where you can no longer use it unless you recharge it. The willpower battery is recharged by restful activities like proper sleep, meditation, taking a break, and by replenishing your blood sugar through healthy meals. This theory has been challenged by new studies that demonstrate that the amount of willpower you have is affected by the amount of willpower you believe you have. Yes, you read that right. Your beliefs about your willpower capacity influence how much of it is at your disposal. People who believe in the limitations of willpower experience more self control failures than those who don't believe that their willpower is limited. Other things that influence your willpower are your level of motivation, how you frame the self control challenge ahead of you, and how you believe that willpower works. Therefore, the ego depletion model doesn't fully explain what is going on here, and it has also fallen prey to the replication crisis in psychology. You cannot believe that your smartphone is at 100% charge and with that make it last forever. Your thoughts about its battery level don't influence it, but your thoughts about willpower do. And thus, your self discipline is more likely in your mind than in your glucose levels. A more accurate belief about willpower is that it works like a muscle. That means that you strengthen it by exercising it. You weaken it by not using it. Use it or lose it. It becomes temporarily weaker immediately after intense exercise. After recovery, it becomes stronger than its prior capacity. This is known as supercompensation. Hence, willpower is not like a hopelessly depleting battery. Willpower is a muscle that needs to be exercised, and the more you do, the stronger it becomes. And while there is arguably a correlation between willpower and the glucose levels in your blood, there is still a lot you can do to enhance your willpower, or at least tap into deeper reserves. As you think, so it becomes. It's important to contextualize the feelings of the depletion of the ego depletion model research by noting that a lot of that research is testing the average individual, not the self disciplined individual. This is like wanting to understand the nature and limits of a muscle by doing research on people who don't lift weights. What you get from such research is only half the picture. This distinction is well made by Stanford University professor of psychology Carol Dweck, author of the bestseller Mindset, the New Psychology of Success. Dweck observes that while decision fatigue does occur, it primarily affects those who believe that willpower runs out quickly. People get fatigued or depleted after a taxing task only when they believe that willpower is a limited resource, but not when they believe that it's not so limited. In some cases, the people who believe that willpower is not so limited actually perform better after a tasking task. Since the majority of people believe that their willpower is scarce, the phenomenon of decision fatigue seems to be a universal truth about human experience, simply because most studies don't distinguish between people holding various beliefs. These studies, attempting to draw conclusions about human nature, ignore the outliers and focus on the average. But the average thus demonstrates the status quo. It shows what is common. The outliers show what is possible. Okay, but what about the actual levels of glucose in the blood? Surely that functions as a general ceiling to the amount of willpower we can exercise, doesn't it? Dweck's insights, again, differ from the conclusion of the previous studies and confirm the experience of those who have systematically trained their willpower. We find that sugar improves self control only for the people who believe in limited willpower. We think that people who believe in limited willpower are always checking to see how fatigued they are. If they feel fatigued, they show a deficit. If you give them sugar and they get a surge of energy, they don't show a deficit. If willpower is like a muscle that can be trained, which is an idea that Roy Baumeister eventually proposed, then that means that glucose is not the whole story. Regularly going through activities that strengthen your willpower, such as cold showers, fasting, and meditation, behavior change, and habit building, does not increase the level of glucose in your blood, of course, but it does increase your willpower. Professor Baumeister told me in an interview that he was able to replicate these findings in his lab and explained them by saying that what's actually happening is that we are training ourselves to tap into deeper glucose reserves. But it's entirely possible that something else is happening because, as Dweck proposed, our mindset and beliefs have a lot to do with it. It seems then that both the ego depletion theory and the mindset theory are right. Each of them tells half of the story. That is, willpower is psychological force with a biological basis, glucose levels. You can enhance it by increasing the levels of glucose in your bloodstream or by developing more positive beliefs about your capacity. So it is smart to observe both of these facts. In practical terms, this means that you need to both manage your willpower reserves and strengthen your willpower by exercising it daily and cultivating an empowering mindset. Having said all of that, if you really want to grow your willpower, then I recommend that you emphasize the mindset aspect. Why? Because otherwise you tend to focus on your limitations. What you believe about your capacity becomes a self fulfilling prophecy. Believing that you have limited willpower limits the amount of willpower that you can tap into. It closes your access to your deeper willpower reserves, making you accept defeat too soon under the pretext of, sorry, I'm out of glucose. As the author Richard Bach once wrote, argue for your limitations, and sure enough, they are yours. So we can say that there are two types of people. The first type focuses on the idea that willpower is limited and hopelessly depleting throughout the day like a dying battery. Therefore, they depend solely on habits and environment to make sure that they are in the best possible shape to make good decisions. And if not, they have a great biological excuse to justify their limitations. They emphasize the biological limits of self control, don't attempt to exercise their willpower, and believe that willpower doesn't work. The second type of people believe that willpower is mostly limited by their minds. They see it as a muscle to be strengthened. They see conducive environments and create habits to save time and prevent decision fatigue. But they don't shy away from exercising this core skill whenever they can. They feel tired after exercising self control multiple times, just like the limited theory believers do. But they don't take those feelings as a sign that they have depleted a limited resource and that they cannot continue further. They feed on challenges, eat stress for breakfast, and feel energized when they meet resistance. They take full responsibility for their decisions and believe in the greatness of their potential. Who will you choose to be? Yes, it's a choice. You can choose to focus on the biological limits of willpower, or you can choose to focus on its psychological plasticity. This has profound implications about how you feel and about your relationship with your willpower. Which person is strongest? The one who avoids using their muscles as much as possible because they believe they are doomed to eventually fail, or those who believe themselves strong and systematically exercise their muscles. Hence, it is wiser to believe that you can train your self control, tap into your deeper sources of willpower within yourself, and thus experience more energy and willpower in your daily life. That does not mean that you will instantly have limitless amount of willpower just by believing that you do. But you will have much more than the next door neighbor who believes that his willpower is scarce and that there's nothing he can do about it. Practical conclusions. Do you want more self-discipline in your life? Then believe that you can exercise it and train yourself to tap into an endless source of willpower within you. And of course, be pragmatic and also make changes in your life that you need to make to help with this process. First and foremost, exercise your will, just like you exercise your muscles. Take it seriously. Rely on it as if your life depended on it, because in some aspects it does. Believe in your power. Exercise it daily. Grow it daily. Second, manage your energy. It makes sense to be aware of this decision fatigue and to organize your routine around it. This means, among other things, starting the day with the most willpower consuming tasks, diminishing the amount of trivial decisions you need to make on a daily basis, and learning to manage stress. Third, optimize your lifestyle. Just like your physical muscles, your willpower muscle can be overloaded. Your willpower can be overloaded if you don't take breaks and build strength over time. Commit to exercising your willpower regularly. Yes, but also develop a supporting lifestyle that includes good fuel and good rest. Things like eating healthily, having regular physical activity, exercise, sleeping enough, and practicing meditation daily will go a long way. Finally, cultivate patience and perseverance. Muscles don't go from flabby to toned overnight. You have to put in a considerable amount of effort before that happens. And if you expect too much too soon, you will feel disappointed and give up. The same happens with your willpower muscle. If you think that you can psych yourself up to have a superhuman willpower by the time you're done with this chapter, you're in for disappointment. So believe in your capacity, but be patient about the process of actualizing it. Aim for having small willpower wins consistently, day after day. This will help you further believe in yourself and thus expand your capacity. I'll cover this concept in depth in chapter 21, 28, and 31. In summary, here are the four aspects of cultivating willpower. Let me show you guys a little chart. Bam. 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 Habits are essential, but not enough. It is trendy these days to write articles titled Willpower is Dead and The Self-Discipline Myth. You can see many bloggers embracing this trend. These ideas, although well-meaning, are misleading and can be harmful. Yes, it's true that willpower takes effort and self-discipline is hard work. And it's true that habits, once established, are automatic and almost effortless. But that doesn't mean that you can replace the need for willpower in every area of life by just building habits. First, because developing good habits does require some willpower in the beginning. You can make it easy as possible for yourself to build that habit and start really small, but you still need some willpower. The example of Sarah wanting to run and stop eating ice cream illustrated this point. When building good habits, you can and should tweak the environment and use reminders to make it easy. These things are good and helpful, and we cover this topic in chapter 26. Yet, they are the training wheels of willpower. If you can only ride with them on, then you've limited yourself. Habit will take you to the gym. Willpower will put the weight or pull the weights and make you do another rep even when you are tired. Habit will keep you in the relationship. Willpower will enable you to change deep patterns in yourself so you can thrive in your relationship. Habits stop you from buying chocolate cake when you go to the grocery store. Willpower allows you to say no when a delicious dessert is available under your nose. Habit takes me to my cold shower every morning. Willpower turns on the tap. The second reason why habits don't fully replace willpower is self discipline, and self discipline is because life is dynamic and unpredictable. You can't make sure that you will always act in harmony with your values and goals by trying to make a habit out of everything. Life will throw curveballs at you. It will catch you unprepared. It will require you to control your impulses and make difficult decisions when you least expect it. When you need to go to work but don't feel like it. When you wish to respond aggressively but shouldn't. When you desperately need to sleep but your baby won't stop crying. It is willpower that comes to the rescue, not habit. We all have moments like these, sometimes on a daily basis. In these challenging situations, self discipline, which is the ability to act in accordance with your higher goals and self and values, comes to the rescue. If you have developed it, it will be here for you. If you haven't, then you will be carried away by the strongest impulse in the moment. Habits are essential, but not enough. They are the result of practicing self discipline and willpower, not a replacement for it. Mindful self discipline is both about building habits and about growing willpower. If all you need to do is move a heavy box from A to B, then please use wheels, not your muscles. But if your purpose is to become strong, then let go of those wheels and push that box, or go to the gym and pull heavy weights for that purpose. Likewise, with your willpower, if you want to strengthen it, you'll need to make use of it. Just as with any other muscle, the only way you'll develop willpower is through friction and resistance. If you are struggling to change your diet or to get yourself to work on a side business or go to sleep early, then probably just getting the habit established at whatever cost is the priority. But eventually you will need to do things to strengthen your willpower. You will need it in life, especially if you are pursuing difficult goals. For these things, there are no shortcuts. Do you want to grow beyond your current limits in your career and personal life? Then you will need willpower every single day. Just having habits won't be enough. Habits make you show up. Willpower makes you excel. In a nutshell, please make use of the habit building principles in this book to create habits in the easiest possible way. But don't shy away from exercising your willpower. Scientific research shows that willpower is the greatest single factor for success in life. You will always need it. Environment is essential, but not enough. The willpower doesn't work believers argue that willpower will always eventually fail and the environment will always eventually win. They argue then that we should rely on improving our environment rather than training our willpower. That this idea attempts to average us down to the lowest human denominator and that is incredibly limiting and uninspiring. Besides, you cannot always avoid exercising willpower in your life by seeking to build the perfect supportive environments around you all the time. Sometimes it's not possible or not desirable. If you want to stop eating ice cream every day, but removing it from your freezer is not an option because your partner. Wait, what if you want to stop eating ice cream every day, but removing it from your freezer is not an option because your partner is an ice cream what? AFICIONADO. Those authors speak from the point of view of what usually happens of your conditioning. I am speaking from the point of view of what's possible for you, your potential. Mindful self discipline is not about we are conditioned to be, it's about who you can become. It's about your potential, not your current limitations. People say that willpower doesn't work because they haven't fully developed it, so it's not dependable for them. By the same token, with the way digital distractions are increasing in our modern life, soon enough future generations will be saying focus doesn't work because nobody can concentrate anymore. If you never rely on your willpower, you will never be able to rely on your willpower. That's not a good place to be because willpower is essential for both success and happiness. Environment is important, but it's only half of the story, and often the half we have less control over. You will always need willpower. Unless we are perfect people with no internal conflicts, living in a perfect environment with everything around us fully supporting our goals, we will always meet some form of resistance or obstacle. That is the case, especially if we are trying to develop ourselves, stretch beyond our current limits, or achieve anything difficult. We can't escape that fact. And when we do meet obstacles, we will need willpower to overcome them. We will need to have the discipline to make choices that are difficult, choices that are against what our external environment is triggering us to do, or against what our internal environment impulses is pushing us to do. It is a great idea to also focus on resolving internal conflicts, of course. When all of the aspects of our personality want the same thing and there is no self-sabotage or internal contradictions, it's much easier to move forward. There are many tools to help us get to that state, such as meditation, self-reflection, therapy, and coaching. It's also a great idea to seek the most suitable environment for our goals or to attempt to shape our existing environment to be as helpful as possible. There is no need to swim upstream when there's an easier path available. Still, we will always meet resistance on the way to our goals. When that happens, we will need willpower. It is futile to try to design a life where we won't need it just so we can avoid the pain of exercising it. Such life would be stale, devoid of growth. Exercise your willpower so you strengthen it. Make use of your environment if possible to make things easier, but don't depend on it. Willpower can fail. So what? Emphasizing that willpower is an exhaustible resource and saying that in the end, environment always wins is just like saying that our muscles are an exhaustible resource and that they are at the end, gravity, the weights, will always win. Even if that is true, it doesn't mean that exercise is futile. The whole point is that we transform ourselves in the process. Perhaps it's true that the natural tendency of willpower in the human mind is to eventually exhaust itself. So what? It's also the natural tendency of the body to get dirty and sick. Does that mean we shouldn't clean it and attempt to keep it healthy? Does that mean that healthcare doesn't work? It's the natural tendency of love to fade away after years of marriage. Does that mean we shouldn't attempt to keep it alive? Does that mean that love doesn't work? It's the natural tendency of our mind to get distracted. Does that mean we shouldn't exercise our power of focus? Does that mean focus doesn't work? Many of the most valuable things in life require effort to be achieved and then maintained, and our effort may not always succeed, but it is worth it. The price of giving up exercising our willpower, self care, love, and focus is much, much higher. Self reliance is evolution. It's a sign of evolution to be able to choose your environment or improve it, but it's also a sign of evolution to be able to thrive despite your environment because we will always meet unhelpful environments. Let's look at nature and the evolution of species. The less evolved the animal is, the more it lives and dies by its environment. Humans are the animals with the greatest ability to survive despite the environment because we are resourceful. We can create tools and methods to master our environment, and we refuse to be controlled by it. Being able to thrive despite the environment is a great strength and a much needed one. It invites you to focus on what you can control, your choices, and not on what you can at best only influence, the environment. The exercise of self discipline allows us to continuously master our inner environment, to act according to our goals and aspirations despite environmental triggers, and to succeed even when the odds are against us. The well known Stanford marshmallow experiment illustrates this point perfectly. In this study, published in 1972, a child was left alone in a room with a marshmallow, and she had two choices: to eat that yummy marshmallow straight away, or to wait until the researcher returned and get two marshmallows instead. The choice was between an immediate reward or a bigger reward for those who had the willpower to delay gratification. In follow-up studies, the researchers found that children who were able to delay gratification ended up having better life outcomes. They got higher SAT scores, had better social skills, earned more money, engaged less in substance abuse, had lower likelihood of obesity, could cope better with stress, and had overall better physical and mental health. Today, willpower and self-discipline are essential for you to survive and be happy. We live in times where the survival of the fittest means survival of the focused. Use your environment, but don't depend on it. Using your environment to your favor, example, removing temptation or placing reminders all around you, is a great hack for building habits. This is something we will explore later in chapter 26. It's a shortcut, and we love that. We live in a shortcut obsessed society. The problem is when we overuse the shortcut, we become dependent on it. We get to the point where we can't do the work without it anymore. Or we may try the available shortcuts to achieve our new goal and give up when they fail because we've lost the ability to rely on ourselves and exercise our willpower. If you focus on environmental triggers, you will be able to build some good habits. But if you focus on your environment and your willpower, you will have both good habits and strong willpower. It's funny how that works. This is why, unlike some self help gurus out there, I don't put too much emphasis on environment. It's good to use it as an aid, and it is a useful shortcut. But at the same time, you need to be prepared for life. And in life, many times we have no control over our environment. So we need to be able to stick to our goals and values regardless of the environment. That is only developed by exercising our willpower in adverse conditions. Yes, I do make use of environments to achieve my goals, but I also exercise my willpower daily. It is the environment that makes my alarm clock ring at 2:30 a.m. every morning. It is the willpower that makes me immediately get up. It is a habit that takes me to the cold shower every day. It is the willpower that turns on the tap. Willpower doesn't work if you haven't trained it. It works if you have. Like love, focus, and good habits, willpower takes constant effort. Even if you could design your life so that every environment is perfectly supportive of your goals, please don't. It's like designing a life where you never need to lift anything heavier than 5 pounds. It's comfortable, but it won't make you strong. And sooner or later, you'll need those muscles. Conclusion: make use of your environment to help you stick to good habits, but don't depend on it fully. Continuously seek to stretch yourself, meet resistance, and exercise your willpower. This is how true greatness and inner strength are born. Exercise. Strengthen your will. To build a muscle, you must apply resistance to that muscle, embrace the pain, and push through. Likewise, with willpower and self discipline, they grow through friction. Embrace that pain and don't shy away. Remember that talk about fire versus water in chapter 3? Well, exercising your willpower in the direction of your goals will increase your inner fire because friction creates heat. When exercising your muscles, it's physical heat. When exercising your willpower, it's psychological heat. In the spiritual traditions of India, the psychological heat is called tapas, not to be confused with Spanish snacks. Tapas is considered the main element of self transformation. Unimaginable things are possible through willpower and tapas. You can mold a piece of iron to your desired shape only if you strike it while it's hot. Likewise, exercising your willpower daily generates the needed inner heat that allows you to mold your life and yourself as per your design. Don't shy away from this inner heat. Invite it. Rejoice in it. Seek to exercise your willpower in one form or another every day of your life. How do you do that? Practicing self discipline with your goals and aspirations is a natural way of exercising your willpower. This is what the rest of this book is about. Another way is to focus on exercising the willpower muscle by itself by choosing to do something difficult every day on purpose. It doesn't matter how small it is. If it generates psychological heat, and if it stretches you, it's a form of tapas. The idea is to choose a small commitment every morning, something that is meaningful and challenging for you, and to keep it throughout your day, no matter what. Here are some examples of challenging daily commitments. Today, I will take a cold shower for 5 minutes. Today, I will not complain about anything. Today, I will practice. Let me just read each category because that's a lot. Today, I will take a cold shower for 5 minutes, practice intermediate fasting for 18 hours, feel grateful whenever I say thank you, cultivate contentment and optimism, speak out when I see injustice, breathe deeply before unlocking my phone, be in bed at 10 p.m. sharp, have one difficult conversation, do something I've been postponing, exercise 30 minutes more than usual, hold eye contact with people, say no when I need to say no, be friendly toward everyone I meet, think before I talk, do something I was avoiding, be on time for everything, and speak kindly and truthfully at all times. Today I will not complain about anything, use any swear words, slouch, drink coffee, eat sugar, argue meaninglessly, use any social media app or site, interrupt anyone who is speaking, watch TV or play games, snooze my alarm, have any junk food, bite my fingernails, lips, or cheeks, check email outside work hours, check or send any text, gossip, indulge in negative feelings, or say any harsh words. These are just some ideas to get your juices flowing. Some of them may not be an issue for you at all, so they are not good candidates for this exercise. Choose whatever is challenging and yet meaningful for you. Focus on a different challenge from the list or make one up every day for 21 days. This simple practice exercises not only your willpower, but also your self awareness skills. And following this exercise, you may notice a tendency to want to avoid that particular temptation you've decided not to indulge in, so that it's easier for you to complete your daily commitment. That is cheating and defeats the purpose of this exercise. Instead, live your life as normal and meet the challenges as they come. Or, if you're feeling ambitious, turn up the heat by purposely exposing yourself to more temptation. What happens at the end of the 21 days? Your willpower will be more reliable. You can then use it to change any particular behavior you want, or you can go through the list again, narrow down to 5 main challenges, and this time stay 21 days on each one. Finally, don't worry if these challenges feel unachievable at this point. The point is not to do it, is not doing it perfectly, but just to get you to exercise your willpower muscle to show you what is possible. The rest of this book will teach you many practical tools to make this process easier. Key points. Definitions. Willpower is your ability to control your attention, emotions, and actions despite the presence of competing stimuli and to resolve conflicts between your short-term desires and your long-term goals. It includes your capacity to delay gratification, override unwanted thoughts and feelings, and shift your internal state. Self-control is often used as a synopsis with willpower. Self-discipline is a continuous application of self-awareness and willpower over time. Much of what is said in this book about self-discipline is also true about willpower and vice versa. Habit building is one of the main functions of self-discipline, but not the whole of it. Not all of your goal-promoting actions can be turned into a habit. The nature of willpower. Knowing that decision fatigue is real, simplify your daily life so that you need to make fewer decisions, keep stress at bay, and follow a regular routine. People who focus on the limited theories of self-control experience more self-control failures than those who don't believe that their willpower is limited. What you believe about your capacity becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Believing that you have limited willpower limits the amount of willpower that you can tap into. Willpower works like a muscle. That means that you strengthen it by exercising it, and you weaken it by not using it. Use it or lose it. Just like a muscle, it will be temporarily weaker immediately after intense exercise, but after recovery, it will be stronger than its prior capacity. Supercompensation. Willpower is a psychological force with a biological basis, glucose levels. You can enhance it by increasing the level of glucose in your bloodstream or by developing more positive beliefs about your capacity. To increase your willpower, exercise it regularly as with any other muscle, with patience and perseverance. Muscles don't grow overnight. Also, cultivate high levels of energy by eating well, doing physical activity, and stress and sleeping well. Believe in your power. Exercise it daily. Grow it daily. Habits are essential, but not enough. You cannot replace the need for willpower in every area of your life by just building habits. Not everything that requires discipline can be turned into a habit. Besides, building habits still requires some willpower in the beginning, even if you tweak your environment. Habits make you show up. Willpower makes you excel. Environment is essential, but not enough. You cannot always avoid exercising willpower in your life by seeking to build the perfect supportive environment. Environment is important, but it's only half of the story. and often the half we have little control over. We will always need to have the discipline to make choices that are difficult, choices that trigger, choices that are against what our external environment is triggering us to do, or against what our internal environment impulses is pushing us to do. Willpower doesn't work if you haven't trained it. It works if you have. Make use of your environment to help you stick to good habits, but don't depend on it fully. Continuously seek to stretch yourself, meet resistance, and exercise your willpower. This is how true greatness and inner strength are born. Exercise. Strengthen your will. To build a muscle, you must apply resistance to that muscle. Embrace the pain and push through. Likewise, with willpower, it grows through friction. That friction generates an inner heat known as tapas, which allows you to mold yourself and your life as per your design. Seek to exercise your willpower in one form or another every day of your life. Do that by developing self discipline in relation to your goals and also by choosing to do something difficult every day on purpose. See examples from a 21-day willpower challenge. Chapter 5. Okay, guys. So I am starving. Okay, starving.